are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Daryl Jr. and I'm welcoming you taking a lap extra mile for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2022. And my, this weekend we got a lot of racing action coming up. H1 Unlimited is going gold. It's going to be really hot in Nashville. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Of course, we also got to talk last week as well. The Superstar Racing Experience back in action in Nashville, where it was for Earn 5 flags. Sorry, but it was way too hot as well. We had Formula 1 as well in Canada. NASCAR had a rear off. We're going to talk about all of that right here. Before we do any of that, of course, I have to welcome in my co-host, Christopher Lehman. Christopher, welcome.
Thanks for having me as always, Daryl. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. We're getting into the weekend. Got my classic Jeff Gordon shirt on. You know about how it faded. I have worn this shirt a lot, and I'm happy to be here.
I've got my brand new Georgia 2021 National Champion shirt on.
I would not have expected that of someone from upstate New York being a Georgia Bulldogs fan.
Yeah, that goes back to actually the old NCAA football games. They had the create a player mode, and the first time I played NCAA, got it for Christmas or something. Made my player, did like all like the scouting stuff, and the best team I was offered by was the Georgia Bulldogs, and that's what got me for life.
To be funny, I'm from Maryland. The NCAA career mode game. I went to Miami, Florida, back when that team was doing something. That's been forever and a day ago. But Maryland football is so bad. I don't know why we're a basketball school. I don't know why we try to be a football school. That's the only reason we went to the Big Ten, and it has been a disaster ever since. So that's a story for a different show here on this fine network. But we're getting into racing. We'll start off with Formula 1, and the first thing I will say is it was really weird to have Formula 1 starting at a normal time slot for us North American folks, which is funny because we just had Miami earlier this season. But at this point, I'm used to getting up and it's 9 o'clock in the morning and F1 race is on, except for Baku, where it was at 7 for some reason. I completely missed that race. But it was weird getting up. I'm like, when does the race start? Wait, 2 o'clock? Oh yeah, they're on this continent for once.
Yeah, I was right there with you. It's kind of weird. You kind of sit around all day waiting for it. I mean, normally most weeks, race is on 10 o'clock at the latest. Usually 9 o'clock. They're pretty good about it our time. But yeah, when we're racing here or Canada or it's Mexico. Yeah, I wanted to say Brazil for some reason.
Brazil's also on our time slot, at least where the race is.
Yeah, I was trying to like put it, but it's weird. Like Las Vegas is going to be like a couple hours behind. But no, you just kind of like waste your day away almost waiting for it. Usually 10, 11:30, the race is done, or 11:30, my apologies. And then you got the kind of the whole day to yourself. And when we're racing here, it's like waiting around for a NASCAR race. It's just like, okay, well, guess I'll go get groceries this morning, make some lunch, and then I don't know. I like morning races though.
Same. I like waking up with F1. I like also waking up with the Premier League, which they don't sponsor this, but I watch that more than I do MLS. But don't get me started on that because I'm not an MLS fan. And DC United here was the first dynasty, but no, it's not the same. But what was the same was the guy that won, Max Verstappen. He is on a tear and just extending that championship lead. The Ferrari that was behind him this time was Carlos Sainz, but to his credit, Sainz gave Verstappen a run for his money for most of that race. I was surprised to see Sainz keep up. I thought it was going to get left in the dust. And I did get helped out by Yuki Tsunoda for getting turn 2 existed there on the pit stops. But it was fun to see Carlos Sainz, not walking off the track in shame because something went wrong. Unfortunately, he became became, as we got into the summer, a little bit of the weak link between the Red Bull duo and the Ferrari duo in this championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I had said in our text group that I don't want to say that I was sleeping on Sainz, but I definitely did not give him the respect that he showed me he deserves this past weekend. As the resident Max Verstappen fan, I see them come into restart, and I'm like, okay, by the end of this lap, Max is a second and a half, 2 seconds ahead. And to his credit, Sainz kept him right there. He stayed within a second right up until the final turn of the final lap. So just big props to Sainz. And that actually leads me into a 2-part question for you, Daryl.
Mm-hmm.
So part 1, does Leclerc make that pass on Max?
No, not the way that car was running. I don't think anybody gets it done.
I agree. And then part 2, does Sainz pass anyone else?
I think he gets through the field if he wasn't up front.
I'm saying my question is, let's say it's Lando leading and Sainz is behind him like he was on Max. Does Sainz pass anybody else for the lead?
If Lando was up there, I think he gets him. If Ocon's up there, he gets him. That caliber, yeah, but Max is the heir to Lewis Hamilton's throne as the GOAT. Lewis is the current GOAT. I don't want to hear the complaint. I don't want to hear it about Schumacher. Lewis has all his records. He's the GOAT. Get over it. Even if I can't really say his teammate because that gets into politics and all that, so they might not allow him to pass. But if it's any of the others in the Big Six, no, he does not get that pass done. But Lando, Esteban Ocon, Valtteri Bottas, if they're having a great day, Fernando Alonso, he gets it done. But Carlos isn't in that tier 1 driver, which is kind of offensive given that he has 2 seconds sandwiching the DNF that he had. I believe that was at Azerbaijan. But the guys in front of him, George Russell has not finished outside of the top 5 all season, and a Mercedes has not been good. I mean, we've seen Lewis Hamilton's performances. That car is a bear, and Russell is put in the top 5 all season long. Max's accomplishments need no introduction at this point, and Checo is coming to grips with that car, and transmission didn't die. I think Sainz is in that position to begin with, because I think Checo gets him eventually, but Sainz is a good number 2 option, but he is not a 1 or a 1.5 like the other guys are. I mean, and what I mean by 1.5 is that's a guy where if the established number 1 is having issues, say Lewis Hamilton this entire season, or what happened with Max and Monaco in qualifying, that other guy can step up and be that number 1 and still get the maximum points. I don't think Carlos Sainz is that guy. He got help this week, though, because Leclerc ended up starting near the bottom and Checo ended up having the engine issues. But Sainz is a good number 2, but the drivers around him are just on a completely different level in that big 3 battle.
I was just going to kind of follow up what you were saying is that I think you and I are probably on the same page that if you look at the big 3, Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull, that Sainz is definitely number 6 on the driver ranking in terms of potential, current talent, and I would say drive race pace. I would say that you got Sainz, probably Russell number 5, and not that he's not good. He's 9 races into his Mercedes career. Let's not call him anything more than he is. I'd put Checo. And this year, I might switch Checo and Lewis. More car than driver. Obviously, Lewis is due, his respect that he's certainly earned. But if you have to factor the car into it, then you need to put Checo above Lewis. So I'd go Sainz, Russell, Lewis, probably Checo, and then Leclerc. And, obviously you have to factor in the car. Charles Leclerc lost so many points this year due to DNFs that weren't his fault. Really, his only mistake was in Monza. And then Max, obviously, number one.
And speaking of those mistakes, another Ferrari power plant bit the dust, this time Mick Schumacher. The other cars not to finish were actually Red Bull powertrains. Sergio was a transmission issue, not an engine. And as I said earlier with Yuki Tsunoda, just cold hard compound tires blew the pit exit, went straight in the wall. But Leclerc had engine issues coming in because previous engine just could not be salvaged, or the turbo could not be salvaged. So he's going to be playing from a bad hand the rest of the season because he's probably going to have to change other components. This is not going to be the only race he takes that penalty. So we'll see what that means for Leclerc's championship chances. So Verstappen, Sainz in the top two. Was not expecting Lewis Hamilton in third. Friday was a auto show as usual for Mercedes, but they figured something out Saturday and Sunday. It seems the porpoising now, they figured it out, how to fix it, which is just run the car stiff as crap, which is what the Red Bull and the Ferraris are doing. But as you and I were talking in the chat thread during the week on our phones, that's not going to be good for these drivers' backs because you feel every single bump in the road when you make these suspensions to where they have no give. But you can't give them any give because once they do, that causes the porpoising issues. And with Lewis being able to get on the brakes more, he was able to, for the most part, keep up with Perez. He couldn't pass him because that car still needs some work. But he was able to keep up, was able to run in front of Russell for a good part of the race, gets back on the podium for the first time since Bahrain. George, of course, has Mr. Consistency Day in fourth. If you're a fan of the Silver Arrows, you're feeling good after the race in Canada. But now, how do they make it go faster, and how can they make it more consistent is what they have to look at now.
Absolutely. And just touching back on the porpoising issue, just to go in depth a little bit more, is Mercedes kind of figured this out by watching slow-mo video of the Ferrari and the Red Bull on track. And what they noticed was that anytime a Ferrari or a Red Bull, particularly more the Red Bulls, because Ferrari does have a little porpoising, so I don't think they're running their suspension quite as stiff, but I bet you the Red Bulls, they're as stiff as you can get. Yes. And they just noticed that these cars were getting violent when they hit the curbs. I mean, just bone-shattering violent going over curbs. And that's why you're not seeing the Red Bulls hit the apexes and really use all of the available track. It's because it hurts. That being said, there is something to be said about winning because mind is over matter. And Max Verstappen and Checo, they might be getting just as bad of a ride for other issues, not necessarily porpoising, but those corners. But when you're winning, mind over matter. If you're winning, if you've won 6 races out of 9, you don't even have time to feel back pain. You know what I mean? Like, mentality is so much, and you've got Lewis who's defeated. This car is not getting, what we should say is back up, 2 weeks to where the car was not getting better. Mentality is a real thing, and there is mind over matter. And Lewis was losing the mental game pretty much from Saudi Arabia on. Was it Saudi Arabia? Where did we have the
That was Saudi Arabia.
It was Saudi Arabia. I was trying to think if it was. I knew it wasn't Bahrain. But kind of ever since then, Lewis has really been losing the mental game, and I think that losing the mental game is he's focusing on the negative. And so that back pain is a huge draw. I think now that they're showing a lot of promise and they're doing good, I bet a good mindset can do wonders for the physical body.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've seen that with NASCAR drivers when they get sick. They don't feel that sick when they're in the top 10. But when they're down the 20 on the lap down, that illness is kicking their behind. And there might be something to that, because if that car was running a lot faster, the back pain would be more tolerable. But with that car being struggling the way it is, it's been magnified. It is a mental game, of course, all racing is, and it's probably being magnified a little bit more than it is. Now, watching them climb out and watching him and Ricardo climb out their cars in Azerbaijan, there might be something to that body thing, because that looked rough. But smoother track in Montreal, didn't seem like anybody had really the back issues. But the only way you're going to cure that mental thing is if you get the car better. Because if they believe in the car better, and by they I mean the drivers, then they're going to be able to push harder, and those issues that they're feeling might go away a little bit. They're not going to go away, but they're going to be a lot more manageable.
Exactly. And look at Lewis this past week. You see him out of the car, it's all smiles. You see the Mercedes travel crew, it's all smiles. They finished third and fourth. Look at what we were talking about just 4 or 5 races ago. Mercedes they're just thinking, we're going to keep sliding back, but hopefully we can retain third in the constructors. And now we're talking about they're about to usurp Ferrari for number 2.
Well, that's because Ferrari keeps having all these issues with reliability. That is hurting them a lot.
But there's something to be said for Mercedes always being right there to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
Look at George Russell. He's the only driver thus far, not even thus far. He's the only driver this season who has finished every race in the top 5. Mm-hmm. That's an accomplishment. 9 races in, your first season in a car that is porpoising and is admittedly off pace. I mean, even Mercedes was saying, we're off the pace. We just kind of want to get through the year. They've come a long way is all I can say from not Bahrain, but let's say Saudi Arabia. From Saudi Arabia to June 23rd, 2022, Mercedes has turned their season around 180, and Red Bull's untouchable as long as the reliability doesn't become an issue. Red Bull's run away with the constructors, but they can still take P2, and I believe they will.
I think they can take P2 unless they pull out more fairy dust like they did last season near the end after the United States Grand Prix. But if they're going to pull that fairy dust, they need to pull it, as I'm looking at the schedule, now-ish.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of time this year. We're going into the British Grand Prix, which, prepare to hear Christian Horner whine and moan about what happened at Cops last year. The entire weekend, I'm not looking forward to it. It was a racing incident between 2 drivers going for the championship. Let it go, Christian. Seriously, let it
absolutely
go.
And that's something else you can say this year is Max is a completely different racer this year. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. And he's won one. That's why. Exactly. And I think that, and it's not just me actually, because obviously I talk about Missed Apex, WTF1. I listen to a lot of Formula One podcasts because I like to get the general consensus of what's going on. Sometimes I get good talking points, good questions. This week's questions: does Leclerc pass Max? Does Sainz pass anybody else? Those are WTF1. Does Mercedes double podium Silverstone? That's going to be a question that I lead into later. Thanks, Missed Apex. Is McLaren capable of getting Lando a championship? Another question I ask. WTF1.
Absolutely not, by the way. Yeah.
Correct. And that's something we talked about in the pre-show. Lando does have to leave McLaren to get a championship. But I think the general consensus is if you look at Cops last year, if that is 2022, Max pulls out. The Max Verstappen racing right now pulls out.
Yeah. If we're in that same situation this year, I'll be shocked if he leaves it around the outside. I think he understands how to win one now. I wish Abu Dhabi didn't happen the way it did, so we could talk about that with more reverence, but Michael Massey screwed that up for everybody, and that wasn't the first thing he screwed up that season, but Max learned he was in the championship fight of his life, and he learned how to get through it. And that's the important part of this. So he understands now that he doesn't have to go all for broke because it can come back to him. Especially now when he's in a position where he's dealing from a position of strength. Every race he's finished this season, he's finished first or second. I think that continues the rest of the season unless they have another powertrain issue or something random happens in qualifying where there's just a red flag and he's on a hot lap and can't complete it or something. Shenanigans are the only way he doesn't start on the front row the rest of this season. He understands how the game works because he learned from the guy that's won 7 of them all last year. And he knows that if he plays his cards right and he gets hot, if he gets into a disadvantageous position, he can come right back and steal the championship. Because that's what Lewis Hamilton did to him last year. Lewis was in a bad hand all year, got hot at the right time, came right back to him, and we had that epic race at Abu Dhabi that got ruined by a decision that was neither of those drivers were at fault for what happened there. That was a FIA problem, not a team's problem. And y'all know my opinions on that. They should have ran the race over. But there's really nothing they could have done to make that situation better. Michael Massey has to follow the freaking rule book, and we're not talking about it. But Max knows how to win a championship now, so he's going to be much calmer this weekend. I just don't want to hear about that. I just don't want to re-legislate that wreck 15,000 times. But you know they're going to talk about it 15,000 times. I really don't want to hear about it anymore.
And if it was NASCAR, they would have already been playing previews of it. If this was NASCAR, they would have been hyping it up at Bahrain.
Dude, they would have had a 3-minute package on the pre-race.
Yep.
Just getting people's opinions talking about it. Like, it's such a nothing burger that became such a big deal for no reason. Okay, it was a shock, frightening accident. But Lewis didn't intentionally turn the car to the right. We saw the in-car camera. Lewis's hands are doing this the whole time. If it pushed out because of the aero wash from those cars last year, which debatably is better this year. He just pushed out and got Max Verstappen. He didn't do that intentionally because it should have taken both cars out. I have no idea how that left front suspension didn't just crumple on the Mercedes after that hit. Because when those wheels, the car speed might be 200 miles per hour. The spinning of that wheel is a lot faster. So those two hitting, bad things happen when two open wheel cars touch tires like that. There is no way Lewis Hamilton went into that corner and knew if I hit Max at this exact point, I'm going to send him off the track and I'm going to keep going. Because both of those cars should have ended up in a heap in that wall. It's only by the grace of God that didn't happen. Because both of them would have got hurt. I mean, Max had to go to the hospital for checks, probably because the G-force spike was so high. Because that looked rough. And we saw the shots from the seats. The gravel did not slow that car one iota. But everybody's okay. Max is the champion. I don't want to hear about it anymore. You can't
Absolutely.
go too wide at cops, for God's sake.
And I think the reason that it was such a big issue was, one, Lewis won.
Yeah, that didn't help.
And celebrated, which all drivers celebrate. But realistically, it was the long breaks in between races that this was allowed to play out over a couple weeks after Silverstone last year. And then we go to Hungary, and Bottas goes full send, and the two cars that get wiped out in that race, both Red Bulls, right after Silverstone. And then we're on the summer. Then we're on the summer break. Then we're on summer break. And now we got a month. We're going on a month of dealing with Mercedes wrecking Red Bulls and certain people in the media just chirping. And that is why
that was not a fun month, by the way. Yeah.
It wasn't fun for us.
No.
Especially as a house divided. You know what I mean? Like, and me as the I would consider myself a rational Verstappen fan as far as most Verstappen fans go. I was kind of more on your guys' side. I understand that with Formula One, we always need to associate blame with just about everything. And if we're associating blame, yes, Lewis was a little bit more to blame because of the rules of who owns the track. And part of it is you can make an argument for how far is mostly alongside, and that's what it comes down to, is that gray area in what should be black and white rules.
It's so frustrating. And I talked about this after the accident, and that was before the bowling for Red Bulls thing. I do not like that in the FIA rule book, we attribute blame to racing accidents like regular traffic accidents. These guys are not doing 65 or 55, which you should be doing, on I-95 out here. They're going 200 miles per hour. They're making decisions at tenths of a second. And the gap that may have been there a tenth of a second ago when you turn the wheel may have disappeared by the time you turn. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't jerk the wheel back to keep from hitting that other car. They're going too fast. My thing, and I said it then and I'll say it now, unless it is extremely egregious, I don't want to see a cause in the collision penalty. I think that gets overused so much in a Formula One race where they cause the collision. I look at it and it's like, that's just a racing deal. 85% of them are a racing deal. There's only 15% where I go, yeah, that guy's just a moron. But it's the box they've painted themselves into, and unfortunately, it's the box we have to deal with. But it's not fun. But we'll see Formula One back and July 1st through the 3rd during our celebration of the traitorous colonies rebelling from Great Britain. Kind of had to. That's also known as Independence Day. I had to kind of throw that dig in there for no reason at all other than I could. Verstappen commanding lead over Sergio Perez at this point, 175 to 129. Charles Leclerc third, 126 points. George Russell 111, and Sainz rounds out the top five with 102. In the teams, well, it's all Red Bull Racing running away. 304 to 228 over Ferrari, 188 to Mercedes. And Williams Mercedes, the lowly 3 points. Thanks, Latifi. So we're going to take a quick break. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say that I think I just want to kind of throw a shout out to what I kind of think is my Cinderella story. Not Cinderella story, but if I'm not rooting for Max, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but I kind of have like a soft spot in my heart for Joe Granu, right? Like I want the kid to succeed. And there was actually on WTF1, there was actually a bit of a disagreement about whether he should be considered a paid driver or whether he's paid his dues and he has earned his ride in Formula One. And I think that's something that we're going to be talking about for probably a season, maybe two. But I think at the end of the day, he is going to earn his place here. And he comes up with a P8 at Canada after, a string of disappointment, including at Baku, goes out with an engine failure, one of the Ferraris to go out. And I'm just happy for the kid. Mm-hmm. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And he got a P8. So awesome, Joe.
Well, I wouldn't say it's hard to tell what his Formula One season is looking like right now, mainly because the car keeps breaking during the races. Bottas's car breaks during practice. Zhou's breaks during the race. So it's hard to tell where he is as a driver. Once that car can consistently not die, then I'll be more willing to make a comment on whether or not he is a paid driver or not. But we'll see. And we will be right back. When we come back, H1 Unlimited gets started in Guntersville this weekend. And it's going to be a hot one in Nashville. We can see some drivers falling out. I'll explain on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with a list of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance. If you love your sport, you may get that second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete. Check it out on social media, on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, and Facebook at Southern California Warriors.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
And we're back here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Daryl and Chris here with you this evening. And we're going to get into some racing that is coming up this week. Of course, we have the H1 Unlimited Hydroplane Series getting their season started with their version of the Daytona 500, the oldest motorsports trophy in the land. The APBA Gold Cup is up for grabs in Guntersville, and last year's champion J. Michael Kelly for the National Driver Standings, the National High Points, will be looking to add his name to the list of winners. Of course, the U1 of... Sorry, I've got to get my drivers back. As we get ready for the... I actually went to this race in Guntersville last season. There it is, Jimmy Shane. Lord, had a brain fart on that one. Jimmy Shane and Home Street Bank, that team, no secret or no stranger to picking up gold cups. They're looking for another one this weekend with an extremely fast Home Street Bank U1. Also, the U9 of Corey Peabody will be out there in the Lynx Healthcare sponsored boat. Actually, last year, J. Michael Kelly took the win in the Lake Guntersville Hydro Fest, and they were running for the Southern Cup. And, of course, J. Michael Kelly and Jimmy Shane had a titanic battle in 2018. Also joining them, of course, will be the U40 Beacon Plumbing with Dave Vilwalk, the greatest of all time in H1 Unlimited. That boat was really fast in testing, by the way, that U40, as well as Goodman Real Estate of Jeff Bernard in the U91. This boat was quick last year, picked up a Gold Cup win in Madison last year, though ran in a much different trim last year due to the pandemic. But that is still a boat that can get things done. Jeff Bernard, not a bad driver either, so we'll see what he can do. And, of course, the U11, the Unlimited Racing Group, J&D's Hydraulic, Jamie Nielsen. Man, if they can get the technical gremlins out of this boat, Chris, it will be extremely fast. One of the old Budweiser boats they're using, and we know how fast those boats were back in the day. This is going to be a team to watch. And joining them at the start of the season, the Go3 Racing, the Griggs Ace Hardware, driven by Jimmy King, the Turbinator, the only piston-powered Unlimited left in the fleet. This boat doesn't make a lot of races due to the costs incurred with those engines. That boat will be on the water this weekend, racing for the big trophy in Guntersville. Racing gets started tomorrow afternoon with testing. Racing will be Saturday and Sunday. You can watch it on the H1 Unlimited YouTube channel all weekend long. Chris, I don't know if you have plans to check out any of that action, but I actually went to this race last season. It was a lot of fun seeing those boats scream by you at 200 miles per hour. Yeah,
last year you were pretty good about sending some videos over and stuff, and it was definitely fun kind of following along with your travels. And admittedly, I don't really watch or know a ton about the hydroplanes, but I can remember even as a kid seeing the highlights on TV and stuff, and just kind of being amazed at those, and like the jet boats that like drive around all the little tiny islands and stuff. Those things, stuff like that. Just that's really cool to me. It doesn't really matter what you're racing. I'm usually pretty interested in it.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be fun. Cannot wait to see this. I'll have the YouTube up all weekend long. I was actually at this race last season, as I said. It was a lot of fun, a lot of friendly faces out there. And they're going to have the Grand Prix boats and the 5 liters, also known as Pro-Light hydroplanes, out there as well. It's going to be a lot of hydroplane racing going on in Guntersville. And we'll get to the NASCAR race in just a moment. But SRX was in action earlier, or last weekend. Elio Castroneves picked up the win. And Chris, Elio wasn't even planning to race that weekend and decided to show up, picked up a victory.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I forgot that it was Raw Seek until until actually, you know what happened is I've been just losing time playing Subnautica, the survival game. And so I was playing Subnautica, and then I get a Twitter notification like 20 laps left in the SRX season opener. I'm like, what the heck, you know? And so I switched out real quick and turned it on. So I caught the last little bit, and actually I caught Elio's interview where he legitimately said, like, I wasn't even supposed to be here. I just kind of showed up, and I was just like, hot damn, that's awesome, you know? And so awesome for him, you know, and it looked like who was running in second? Who finished second? There was a decent battle for second in the last closing laps too. I can't remember who it was between. But yeah, Elio was just, he had quite a bit of a lead. I think it was well over a second, if not 2. So I wish I had seen it.
It was Bubba Pollard. It was Bubba Pollard and Ryan Newman battling for second.
Yeah. Pollard finished second. He got around Newman, which is obviously from his NASCAR days. That's not an easy feat to do, is to pass Ryan Newman.
No, it's not.
But it's nice seeing Ryan Newman here, though. You know what I mean? Like he loses his ride at Roush Fenway for Keselowski, and you know it's kind of cool to see him pop into SRX, and I wish I had watched the race. I kicked myself because I was like, I haven't texted you guys, and I was like, it's freaking SRX week, and I loved SRX last season. I caught every race, and I was so excited for it, and I'm so disappointed with myself that I missed the opener this year. But I will not miss another race this season.
Yep. Well, we have South Boston coming up this week, as the first 4 races will be competed on the asphalt. The last 2, I-55 and Sharon, will be on the dirt. Cannot wait to see how the rest of the season wraps up. And Ernie Francis looks like his car is going to be the one on the struggle bus. That car had some sort of issue in the rear end. He ended up having to go to the backup car. Ended up finishing 11th that day. Tough day for Ernie Francis. I don't think he's running the full schedule this year, but we know how good he was last year.
I think he's running the first 3, which would bring us right up to, he won't be. He could be. I think he's running the first 3, which makes sense because I think all IndyCar is off for the last week.
They don't come back until
July.
Next
July.
Week. Yeah.
The first week of July is when they're back. And so I would assume that the Indy Lights or whatever that he's in, they're probably off as well. But something that I'm really looking forward to with SRX this season is we're going to get 2 father-son duos. We're going to get Chase and Awesome Bill on the track together, and we're going to get the Blaneys together, Ryan and Big Dave. And I actually think the 4 of them all might be racing the same race, which is the season finale. So that will be a race that I think is going to garner some huge numbers, especially if you got Blaney. So you're getting all the women, the girls, the moms, the single, the married. It doesn't matter. All the women love Ryan Blaney. And then you got Chase, the most popular driver. So it's exciting. I would love to see, some other guys like Bubba Wallace, Daniel Suarez, not necessarily just picking out minorities here, but SRX is really, when you look at it, they're pretty inclusive for having such a limited number of spaces. We've got Haley Deacon, we've got Ernie Francis Jr. You've even got non-U.S. People race, non-U.S. Born people. I don't know what the proper political correct term to say that is. I don't think immigrants or anything. But I mean, they're diverse, and it's awesome to see and seeing, them build upon it. I mean, they really had the opportunity to seize underrepresented. Holy crap! Apparently,
underrepresented.
Apparently, one glass of wine is too many. Underrepresented fan base. This is something we talked about during the pandemic with banning the Confederate flag at NASCAR properties. There are fans that want to be interested in racing, but feel that there is a whether it's a religious race, a gender, there are barriers in racing, and in all reality, SRX is breaking those barriers. Every race, it seems like it's not just a bunch of white guys, and that's a wonderful thing. And I would love to see them build upon that. I would love to see Daniel Suarez. I would love to see Bubba Wallace. I'd love to see Jesse. I can never say his last name ever.
I don't know about Jesse Iwuji.
Oh no.
Actually, these cars might actually be his speed, so I'll take that back. But I've made my feelings known about Jesse. He's a great guy, but the racing skills just not there, and it's not his fault. He got started a lot later than everybody else, but that's neither here nor there. But I would like to see him at least give these a shot.
Yep. And SRX is just it's great. I love what they're doing, and I really hope that they're able to turn this momentum into years and years and years of success.
Yep. Well, we'll see how they race. You'll see it on CBS this coming Saturday, and also coming up this weekend, NASCAR heading into Nashville. First thing to say, it's going to be hot. And I don't mean the action. I mean, it's literally going to be hot. As we go and look at the Nashville weather for this weekend, last time I checked it earlier this week, they had 100. They were talking about 100 degrees on Saturday. It is now, the temperature's gone down a little bit, 95 degrees on Friday. 92 and 93 Saturday and Sunday. However, the rain chances have picked up, particularly on Sunday. And because NASCAR can't get out of their own way, no fault of their own on this one, I believe this race is slated for like 5 Eastern. Guess when the biggest rain chances?
6.
5 Eastern. It's a 58% chance of rain from 5 through the rest of the evening, because NASCAR can never win when it comes to the weather.
They could start at 1 o'clock. You know what I mean?
We've been here before.
We start football games. All start at, not all, but you know what I mean? On Sundays, they start at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Why can't NASCAR start at 1 o'clock?
Because TV wants the West Coast audience, apparently.
I know, but I just don't get it.
If they can get up for 9 a.m. football games, they can get up for NASCAR.
The East Coast gets up for 9 a.m. Formula One races.
Yep.
The West Coast gets up for like 5 a.m. Formula One races. The
race
if they fans can get are going to.
If they can get up for 5 a.m. Formula One, they can get up for 9 a.m. NASCAR races.
I don't understand this idea that the West Coast isn't going to watch a race at 9 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, Like they're like worried, like, oh, they're not going to watch races at 9 a.m. What the hell else are they doing at 9 a.m.? They're like us when the Formula One race is on at 3. They're just kind of sitting around like, what do we do until the race starts?
It's a TV. Some TV focus group said if you start the race later, we'll watch. And that's what they decided to do. So that's where we are. But annoying as all heck as it is. We have to deal with it. They moved this race back a couple of hours to try and get it into more of the evening where it's not as hot, because they ran into this exact same situation last year with the heat. They're also allowing them to bring coolers in this time. That has been a big talking point. Which track does and does not allow coolers? For the record, it's all but 3 of them. Unfortunately, Nashville was one of them until this week. But the question is, a week off, who's going to come back refreshed and pick up the win? Last driver to win on an oval was Joey Logano. Daniel Suarez got the win in Sonoma. Last year, this was another one of the Kyle Larson wins as he went on his revenge tour, but that team hasn't looked so hot. So who knows how they're going to do this week, but we have to try and make a pick in this week's edition of Nearest the Win. Get you our point standings as our resident statistician, Matt White, has crunched the numbers. And the current standings look a little like this. I currently lead with 29 points. Chris has 15. Michael is sitting on 6. Last week, Michael and Chris picked Christopher Bell. I picked AJ Allmendinger. I thought that was going to be a steal, and then his power steering broke. So, not much I could do with that. Chris, who you got this week?
Well, I am going to pick the Ally 400 winner to be the same gentleman who won it last year, Kyle Larson.
Say Kyle Larson gets a get well game here. He needs one because it has not been the season he has wanted. I'm going to go with one of the Trackhouse cars. Pick up the win here. I think Ross Chastain gets win number 3 of the season. I think that team's going to be riding high from the momentum. We saw the video last week, them celebrating Daniel Suarez's win, and I think that carries right in to an Ally 400 victory this Sunday. And if you want to play Nearest the Win, make sure hashtag Nearest the Win before the start of engines on Sunday to get your picks in this weekend.
Before we go, Daryl.
Oh,
No. I got a question for you.
Okay.
I got two questions, actually. I forgot to ask you. Does Mercedes double podium Silverstone?
Probably not. I don't think so.
Do you think they get one spot on the podium?
I think they'll get 1. I don't think they'll get 2 unless something happens.
I could have asked this next week too, but it was on my notes for today. So that's that one. I would say that's probably George Russell P3. I don't want to do this to you, Daryl. I really don't. But we've got 5 minutes left, and I need to hear what your thoughts on 2311 coming out of the break are.
Y'all better have that 23 ready to go, or we're going to have some freaking problems. I am tired of having to come on here, talk about that team having some sort of issue specifically. It's been every other week. You figure it out with the 45, figure it out with the 23. That's what I got to say about that.
Do you think the extra time Denny Hamlin probably spent around their race shop is going to do anything?
It better. I think it will. It better, because this is getting absolutely ridiculous.
So, and not to put you on the spot, but do you think that one of the 2311 cars nabs the top 10 this weekend?
Yes. It'll probably be the 45. The 23 will be running top 10, and then the pit crew will forget how to change tires, or the car will go dead tight, or some back marker spins into them and collides with the 23, and they'll end up 32nd or something, because that's usually what happens to them.
Yep. probably agree with you on that.
Yeah.
The 45 will definitely finish better than the 23, but it would be nice to see them both in the top 10. And
hopefully.
That's what I got.
Yep. So before we get out of here, because we're at 3 minutes, we are right up against it. So I'm going to try and do this as fast as I can with the ending. Make sure you check out iSportsRadio.com and join the Patreon for just $5 a month. That will give you a shout out on all 32 of our shows. And of course, the higher tiers include iSports Radio merchandise, access to the podcast university, and a chance to be featured on our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you so much to Bay Area Raised, MLO's Great, Key to the Gate, and One Anonymous Patreon for your help in making sure this network stays on the air. Make sure you follow all the iSports Radio Twitters, Instagrams, and Facebook pages. And of course, make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm at DK Junior 12. Chris is at Fiji Sims. And now, something brand new. We have a TikTok now. We're going to start uploading videos to that soon. You can check us out at the Extra Mile Podcast. You can find us there on TikTok, where we'll be posting videos, updates on action, some highlights from us talking here on the show, and more. So make sure you check us out. Give us a follow on the TikTok at the Extra Mile Pod. Name of the whole account is the Extra Mile Podcast. Check us out. Can't wait to see you guys there, and I can't wait to see what type of content we got over there as well. We're going to be busy, so we got 2 minutes to go. Arthur Parsons coming up next with the Bayou Bulletin, so keep it locked right here to IE Sports Radio. There's a checkered flag for this episode. For Chris, I'm Daryl. We will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.